And we're here with
Hi, my name's Ed Knoll.
Ed, and I know you have a couple jets in the racing going on here, and we're here in front of a L-39. I wonder if you could just kind of go over it a little bit. Anything you want to tell our fans about it?
Sure, I'm happy to tell you about this.
And you are a pilot of the L-39,
yes,
right,
I
Ed?
am. I am.
Okay, take it away, Ed.
Okay, well, great. Just a quick tour. The pilot that's going to get into this aircraft has to first start at the ground, and they get on the first step with their right foot, and then they get on the left step and stick that in, and their left hand up here, and then right hand here, and they boost themselves in and shut that with their foot, and then they're going to transition and left foot down and right foot down, and then sit down in the seat. And once in this aircraft, you're snug, and it's more roomy in the back seat than it is the front, because that's where the instructor was. Maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit larger. And anyway, this was where it's at. And so we have most of the gauges in the right place, and we're missing like the horizon there, but the center gauge is a gauge that was in the airplane, and wise we hadn't figured out how to make the glide slope. We had one guy that figured out the localizer left and right. Anyway, so you have your knots, and then you have your altitude, and you have your VSI here, and then you had usually your fuel quadrant and such was down here, and this has an extra RMI, and then it's got some gauges that are not stock, but the panels kind of look like that. The side panel is nothing stock. It's just this airplane was stripped down, and parts were taken out of it, and the commemorative Air Force donated to the Air Force at West Houston Airport in Houston. And so we use this primarily for putting kids in, because we want smiles, and we have a great time with it. Now, the back seat was designed and we call it the command and control. There is one element right down here that depressurizes this handle right here will depressurize the canopies without the student seeing a light come on or anything, and he has to figure out that the pressurization gauge is now off of where it should be. And so that's one of the elements. But like that, there were several elements in here. You could fail the left or the right pitot tube, and you could fail other elements of it. So that's why we call it the command and control seat. That panel over there, like the one in the front, is not anything similar to stock. But that's basically a simple instructor aircraft. And
Ed, one last question. I know it's a race environment, and some people turn up the fuel control unit for a little more performance out of the engine. Have you heard of anyone turning it over 75 ATM ever?
I have. The good fortune for me is that I'm not the mechanic, and I don't get involved with that. We just do our best to not burn up an engine.
To fly safe. So let's say when you're taking off, Ed, what would the reading be on the fuel control unit gauge pressure, and perhaps the engine RPM in percent?
Well, when you're in a takeoff, you would normally see about 110 to 112%, and then your exhaust gas temperature is going to be probably somewhere around 650, maybe. Could be as high as 700. If it was that, and if you have that much thrust, you may not even be full throttle on a takeoff. If you have enough runways on these things, you don't always have to go full throttle. If you're a shorter runway, you're going to want your margin and have your speed. But now, exactly how much that any individual works with the fuel controller. My main before Crimea was taken over, I was known for always having a reconditioned fuel controller on the shelf, and a lot of the people around the country that know these airplanes would buy one from me. I'd always have one over there being done, and have one on the shelf. And so once it comes with the factory settings, what people do with them, because these are experimental aircraft, and because they're experimental aircraft, the owners or his agents can change settings, and any setting they want.
And would it be safe to say that you have never seen anyone fly it or run an engine over 75 ATM or 85 ATM?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
Honestly wouldn't know.
Would you
I
do
have
it
no
in
idea.
your aircraft? Would you go to 85 ATM?
I have no idea because I don't set that.
All right, fair enough, Ed. Thank you so much.